What is up, everybody? Welcome to the 2020 Ledgestone Insurance Open presented by Grip Equipment. I'm Brian Earhart, joined here by Tristan Tanner. What is up, my man?
Hello. How's it going today?
It's going good, man. We have an awesome course we get to watch. One of my personal favorites to play and watch players play on, Northwoods Gold in Morton, Illinois. How do you feel about this place?
This place is one of my favorite wooded courses that we play all year. It's probably the hardest course we play all year. I think something like +3 is 1,000 rated out here, which is crazy.
Yeah, and again, this coverage is presented by Gatekeeper Media, and thank you all so much if you are a Patreon supporter. They are bringing some awesome coverage here. We have a really unique card with some new faces. We have Philo and Kevin Jones, some longtime touring professionals, veterans of the sport of disc golf. We have Andrew Kaluk, who actually works at Discraft, giant sidearm player. And we have Brodie Smith, the Instagram influencer, YouTube star, who has been making some waves in the disc golf world.
Yeah, definitely. He's made a big impact here. And hole number 1 is a really tricky par 3 to start out. It's only 345 feet, but you have a couple tight gap options, and there's a couple different choices for a lot of our players to take.
Yeah, and for a starting hole on this course, it is a daunting tee shot. The basket's right in front of you, but the biggest gap, I think, is maybe 20 feet.
Yeah, maybe.
So a lot of players are opting for this wide hyzer, just as a safe option to get a somewhat of a look at 2, look at 3 easily.
Oh, and Philo likes this little flex line, probably with a Firebird.
And that'll be an easy up and down for a 3. And Andrew, known for his big sidearm, but his backhand is also no slouch.
He does choose that wide hyzer. There is some stuff to contend with. If you leave it a little high, you really have to play that shot pretty low to get yourself a putt.
And it looks like Kevin is also opting. Looks like he's going wide, but that looks like an M4 in his hand, so I'm not sure if he's going straight up the gut.
Is that kind of intermediate hyzer with a little bit of flip up.
And you're looking at kind of like a tinier hyzer when you say intermediate. Lower hyzer angle, correct?
Yep, exactly.
And here's Brodie, and we did see him perform well at Waco, his very first tournament. He almost made the cash in his very first pro tour playing in the woods, so we'll see how he does here. He is a very good mid-range putter thrower. Throw that same intermediate hyzer and almost getting the angle down to get to circle 1.
Yeah, really just having a putt on this hole is pretty good
to
start out your day, not hitting first available.
And that's Philo from what I would call the Philo distance.
Definitely.
Just misses right.
And this basket does have a little bit of a slope kind of on the left side of it, and it can get pretty quick when you're on the right side of the basket.
Here's Brodie from about 60. And that's another thing about Brodie that I am very impressed with how short he's been playing this game, is his putting stroke is really beautiful.
Yeah, he really puts a lot of time into it.
I have noticed, and we have all seen that. Here's Kevin from about 45. And that's going to sit down. Solid par putt there from Kevin. You never want to start with a 4 in this hole. We saw numerous players actually do that, especially hitting early on those first available trees. And the thing about Northwoods Gold is a par is much more valuable than it is on other courses.
Yeah, definitely. And especially to start out your round, just getting out the gap and taking a par is a very common thing.
Yes, one of the tightest gaps we do play on tour. Brodie taps in a stress-free par, and we move into hole number 2 here. Hole number 2, has been unchanged in the redesign of Northwoods. It used to be considered a par 4 in tournament, but for the bigger events that they've been having here, they've changed it to a par 3 to potentially entice the players to forego landing at this top cliff here and trying to flex a shot all the way down the hill.
Yeah, a lot of players are going to be playing a flex forehand if you're a right-handed player and just trying to get down the hill. Once you're down the hill, you can get at least up and down for your par and maybe have a look at 2.
Yeah, probably one of the more challenging par 3s that we do have on the course, and it requires a very specific shot. Philo, I know for a fact, is going to be playing this one for a 3, just being a backhand dominant player. And this is the traditional play on this hole. Putter to the top of the hill, and then putter down the hill. Andrew, though, you know he's going to want to go for this one. That was smoked.
Yeah, it was. Couldn't quite tell where it finished, but a little bit right side, it looked like.
Another solid looking line.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
He knows it was close.
He's right.
That was really good.
And it's so interesting. You see with Brodie's forehand, he still loves to drop that elbow like an ultimate player. So I'm sure this kind of chop over stable sidearm is a new endeavor for him.
Yeah, definitely. It's something he's been working on, and I think he found out at Waco that it's something that he needs to get better at.
Super valuable, and I think that's a good play to the top of the hill. He's just going to suck it up and take the 4. Not too bad. He should be about 25 to 30 feet away.
This can be a tricky shot to judge, actually, going down the hill. This shot is way more downhill than it looks on camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your disc has a long time to fade out too early or too late.
Does a good job of throwing it down. And that's probably inside the circle there.
Andrew's drive is caught up in that middle section of trees. He's going to have to pitch out, and he's about 40 from the basket here. Ooh. Kind of a tough reaction. The thing about this course, it's been in the ground for quite a long time, and a lot of the greens are hard dirt like this.
Yeah, a lot of hard pack, a lot of skip rollaways happen. He didn't like it right out of his hand, but it ended up in the basket.
Showing a little bit of gratitude towards the basket there. Here's Andrew from the woods yet again. Oh, no. He's still from about 25 to 28 feet.
That's a good putt there.
And that's a good confidence booster as well. Just if you miss that one, some momentum can seriously get sapped from you that round, or for the rest of the round.
And that's an insane drive. It's really hard to park the basket on this one.
And that's why even a few years ago, this was considered an eagle getting a 2 on it, because that flex sidearm was not as common as it is nowadays on tour.
Definitely.
A little bit of disrespect to the basket there. Moving on to hole number 3. What do you think about this hole, Tristan?
Hole number 3, it's actually an attackable par 4 if you want it for some righties. Take the aggressive flex shot, but most players are going to be playing some sort of left to right moving shot, just trying to get into this opening just past these bushes. And then that's going to leave you with a pretty straight approach into the green that actually has a pretty good backstop to it.
Yes, and this is definitely a hole. If you do get a good tee shot off, you can run this for an eagle, actually. Coolest thing about this hole is it's actually a safari hole of the old holes, I believe 6 and 7 on the old Northwoods course. And it just so happened that it miraculously worked together for a fantastic par 4. Here's Kevin coming up with a sidearm. I believe this is a D2 that Kevin is throwing. He says this is more of his medium stability one. That's a good spot. Gorgeous is right. That is a picture-perfect drive on this hole.
That's incredible.
You might even have a jump putt to the green there.
Yeah, very possible.
A little bit of an early release there from Brodie. You could tell he was trying to throw that subtle hyzer. And this looks like an overstable disc.
Wow. That
Yeah.
came out so fast.
Andrew does not, I guess you could say he throws caution to the wind on a lot of his sidearms. He is a very aggressive player, has a lot of power on that sidearm. And you heard him say that he clipped one tree on that roller he was trying. He is potentially back in the woods. Another sidearm roller from Andrew. He might be in the creek with somewhat of a look.
Yeah, and that creek just short of the basket is casual.
Find it. I think he was maybe trying to run that eagle we were talking about.
Yep, maybe a little bit, but that's parked for birdie with that backstop of a green. Pretty awkward stance here.
Just a little bit too low. He'll still have about 60 feet to the basket. A little bit deep.
Yep, that's probably going to be closer to the edge of circle. And Andrew probably is going to have this little tricky forehand. Oh, that's really well done. That's
Sit down. Okay.
That's really thick over there in some spots that it's really even possible to not get up and down from that spot sometimes.
Exactly. And here's Brodie with a long scuba. And that's going to be right there. And kind of a tough hole there from Brodie. That's a good birdie there from Philo.
That's good, right? Is your foot under it or behind it?
Well, it's like floating.
Right, you can't put it under it. It has to be straight behind, though.
So what happens when it's floating?
That's good. You're fine.
Or can I just mark
You can mark it like
right underneath it?
that or something, or like
Or it's just gonna slip down?
Yeah, then put it on the ground.
It's such a unique interaction that's happening right now because, you know, like we had said, Brodie has, you know, he's been on Team USA for Ultimate and he's been playing Ultimate all over the world. So he's no slouch with a Frisbee, but he's so new to disc golf. But his popularity is propelling him on these feature cards. So we're having players still kind of teach him what he can and can't do.
Yeah, there's so many little weird rules that you don't
Yes.
get until you're in specific situations in tournaments that you just can't learn without just playing.
Yep, I've failed the PDGA officials exam more times than I'd like to admit.
I'm sure most of us have.
Moving into hole number 4. This hole is a very unique par 4. Dead straight, 540. Doesn't feel like 540. There's a low ceiling that you can throw underneath and try to get as far as you can up this super tight fairway. A lot of players are choosing to opt for a chip hyzer to the short pad and then filleting the tunnel with some sort of putter or mid-range.
Yeah, this hole is really tight, and the rough on either side really is not forgiving. You can't really advance forward out of the rough at all, so it's really important to just put the disc in the middle of the fairway.
And on this chip shot as well, there's a really exact sliver of the fairway you want to land. And it looks like Kaluk is going with a little turnover forehand, and that works out great, actually.
Yeah, that's really good. There are those walls right below the fence on that left side, so you can kind of just burn it over.
Exactly. Brodie's going with a zone. Just a little bit too high.
Didn't see that.
And now he's going to have to get a little bit creative to get into this tunnel, or at least to the mouth of the tunnel, to get up and down for a 4. He chose to go to the mouth of the tunnel, but it looks like he might be a little bit too far right to get to the basket.
Unfortunate kick there. I do like the forehand on this second shot because there is some more space on the right side of the green.
Yes.
That's a great shot there
Yeah,
from Brodie.
absolutely.
Straight down the tunnel after the pitch up.
It looks like Philo did get to a nice spot off the tee. Oh, yeah.
And that's just his bread and butter right there. Just a probably DX rock, just straight at the basket.
And that will do you just fine here.
That's a great out from
That'll
there.
work as well. I believe this is Kevin's 3rd shot. Trickled to, looks like circle's edge. And here's Brodie for a great par save.
Yeah, definitely. This is something he's been working on, the circle 2 putt. Self-proclaimed not great at circle 2 putts, so Let's see if he can put this one in.
That's going to sit down. I believe this is Kevin Jones for a 4 here. Another one of those par 4s that taking a par is okay on.
Yeah, pretty much every hole on this course is pretty okay to get a par on. Good cleanup putt there from Andrew after some putting struggles earlier. That's a good one to hit.
And that's an awesome birdie from Philo. Just straight shot, exactly how the hole was chalked up.
Yeah, pretty picture perfect. And yeah, this hole sets up really well for his game.
Absolutely. And that is an unfortunate bogey from Brodie, almost capitalizing on the par putt. And we're going to move into hole number 5 here.
Yeah, hole number 5 is pretty similar to the tee shot of the last hole if you're playing aggressive, but just with a slight finish to the right. It's not really a turnover or like a forehand shot. It's just really a straight shot that barely moves right.
It's one of those shots that a pro-level player should have in their arsenal, controlling the final third of the flight rather than just the first 2/3 of the flight. Getting the disc to flip over and start fading towards the basket, maybe at 300 feet or so.
Yeah.
And I think this man is pretty good at that shot. Yanked it over a little bit too much to the right. That's a great kick.
Incredible kick. Being on the fairway in this hole is just amazing. The rough is really rough on this one.
Especially on the right side. And it's pretty much unscrambleable from the right side if you are too far back. And I believe Kevin throws an M4 on this one. He throws high and tries to challenge the ceiling, which I do like. And that looks pretty good if it keeps coming.
Wow, that's perfect. And this green is sloped a little left to right. So if you just land it left to the basket, you're going to get a little bit of filter.
And that's part. Looks like he's going onyx.
If that stays pushing.
A common miss for the hyzer on this hole. Just hyzering a little bit too much at the end of the flight, not pushing forward. But he's still in circle 2. Roll bounce left there from Brodie.
Pitches out back to the fairway. That's a smart play. Settling for bogey. If you can get up and down.
And that's going to sit down. And it did, somewhat. About 20 feet, 15 feet from the basket. He has such beautiful touch with a putter.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just comes in so soft. It never has a chance to go anywhere but right under the basket.
Exactly. And this might be a nice little putt to float in here after some putting woes from Andrew early. Ooh. Stress-free par. No.
That's pretty unfortunate. You saw him kind of messing around with some of those little leaves and twigs. There's a lot of those around the greens on this course,
Yeah.
and it really can get in your head on the putt.
And I think one of the other, bits of mental warfare that Northwoods plays on you is the stress on some of those comeback putts or some of those putts after a really stressful bit of scrambling, which never seems to stop on this hole or this course.
Yeah. See Kevin starting out pretty hot. 3 down through the first 5.
Matt Bell here with my signature series studies, and with a little firmer feel, you can be confident that it's going to fly on the angle you put it on all the way to the basket.
Oh, huge putt for Bell.
We are out into the orchard now on Northwoods. Hole number 6, low ceiling. Kind of shapes up for a flex shot for a righty backhand, I think.
Yeah, so there's the flex shot up the middle from the righty backhand, or there's actually a wider skip hyzer out the right side that a lot of people opt for. And even roller is in play for some players.
I've seen forehand roller as an option as well that actually worked out pretty well. But a very nice stretched out version of a previous hole on this course. And there's Kevin with the forehand roller.
Looked like a pretty weird reaction right when it hit the ground, but he's still just outside the circle.
Yeah, and that's a great little kick off that tree, too. Gave him an extra 3 feet towards the basket. He'll have one of those Kevin Jones jump putts.
No way, Destroyer. Are you kidding me? See? That's disbelief. Destroyer, are you kidding me? Overstable Destroyer only turns right. It's incredible. See? That's very weird.
Oh. Andrew was going with that outside hyzer with an onyx that you had mentioned and just caught some of the branches up top.
See, Brodie looks to be lining up the forehand roller as well.
And this looks like an Undertaker.
That got down really clean, and that's on a good angle.
That's got to stand up. And he'll be circle 2. Some visible frustration from Brodie. Great play there from Andrew. Just a bit low. Didn't look like he fully committed to that jump putt. And here's Brodie for birdie from about 50.
Just a little low as well.
And that is a rough stretch for Brodie right there. And he is stoked to take that par.
Super stoked about it.
And this was a Phase 2 event on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so spectators were allowed in limited amounts. Players were allowed to have, I believe, one caddy or spectator follow their card. So it was kind of nice to actually hear some applause after some shots.
Definitely. Yeah, we've kind of been dry from the spectators for a little while, and it's really good to have them back. It really gives that vibe back into the sport. And hole number 7 is a really tricky par 3. A lot of players opt for roller or like a straight shot backhand, but this is one that really feels like a bonus birdie.
Yes, I think the best play on the hole in regards to challenging the ceiling is a lefty roller, or like you said, forehand righty roller, which is a challenging shot to throw. The low ceiling backhand is an option. You just have to execute it perfectly. So you can see Kevin's trying to take that precision out of play and throw the roller and just give him some sort of chance at the birdie look.
It's interesting. I actually didn't think about the forehand roller. I've mostly seen people play a cut backhand roller through those trees on the right side.
And it looks like because of that, it looks like people are just trying to do anything they can to get up towards the basket. I think if that initial front gap had the canopy trimmed just a bit, more people will be taking this line that Philo's taking.
Yeah, I agree.
You just have to be so precise with challenging the ceiling, maybe the top 2 feet before the canopy hits.
Yeah, it's really common on this hole to leave it a little bit nose down and just kind of be right in that hill about 60 feet away.
Andrew's just going power sidearm, a little bit too high.
Might have a look over there, though. That's just fine. I mean, getting out the gap and having a look.
Oh, no. Just another misfire from Brodie. It almost feels like he's trying to almost teach himself right now. He just might not be feeling confident in his body.
Yeah, with how new he is to all these throws, I'm sure it's pretty relatable for a lot of players watching this, how you kind of have to, you're thinking about a couple points before you throw, and you're not really doing it effortlessly yet. Kevin was just a putter, it looks like.
And he's in C1. It's a great approach shot. This hole did average a little bit over par at a 3.14, so taking a 4 will give you strokes over the field. But it's still a hole that if you do execute that tee shot, you do have a shot at birdie, but I have not seen many.
Yeah, me neither.
And Philo putting from where a lot of the backhand air shots were landing. He'll take an easy 3. And here's Kaluk for the birdie. He's got that murdered out Luna.
Oh. And this is a really weird basket to putt on, too, because it is elevated with the rocks around it and the slope behind. But it kind of doesn't feel like it's elevated.
Great putt from Kevin. It does feel elevated enough to give you a bad reaction if you hit metal.
Exactly.
And Kevin with a great comeback putt. That's a confidence booster. And Kevin, it seems like this round, after any bad tee shot he's had, he's recovered extremely well.
Yeah, and that's really what it takes on this course is scramble game, because big numbers come into play quick. And if you're not scrambling well, you're going to have a rough time out here.
And Brodie tapping in yet another bogey. This has been a rough stretch for him. You can visibly see it in the way he's carrying himself. And Kaluk taps in a pretty stress-free par. And speaking of roller, here's one of the best roller holes in the course, hole number 8. What do you think about this tee shot?
Yeah, this tee shot, it really does shape up for the roller really well. This grass is short on this part of the fairway, and just the shape of the hole, you want to get out a little bit to the right or far enough left, and it really shapes well for the roller and then leaves you probably a putter or mid-low ceiling shot into the green.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because the fact that they've taken out so many little holes around this in the orchard allows for players to just scramble from all different parts of the fairway. It's a really unique hole that the players just get to unload on, and Kevin almost has a huge roller pop off, hitting that trunk.
Yeah, this is one of the unique holes that we play where you don't really have to worry about accuracy too much with the roller. You just kind of get to just blast it.
Exactly. And here's Philo going a little bit more precise. And it looks like it's listening to Philo, and it has kept going. That's a great shot.
Really good shot. He's going to have a little bit more low ceiling from there, but it will open up the hyzer a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And Kaluk is opting for backhand. If that turns, it's going to be great. So close. It looks like he's just been a tiny bit off on so many of these drives.
Yeah, he really has been just barely off. And that's really the story of this course. It's just you really have to be so accurate.
Here's Brodie lining up roller, I believe. Oh, and that got a nice little reaction off that tree. And his roller is in a pretty good spot.
You think I'd not hit first?
And that's going to fade out quick. Little bit deep there, but looks like he's about circle 2, 50 feet.
Yeah, that's a pretty long way out to be approaching this basket. This ceiling is really low and really hard. Brodie going for that forehand, maybe down the left side.
And he didn't like the shot, but he's still just outside circle 1. And that was a smash drive from Philo and really left that approach short.
This approach can also play some tricks on your mind just with the shade and bright sunlight back and forth. It's really hard to judge how far away from the basket you are.
Here's about a 50-foot look from Andrew.
Great putt.
It's starting to feel very common for him to be just absolutely drilling these putts from that distance. I feel like 40 to 50 feet, he's one of the best in the world.
Definitely, I agree. He's just very committed and almost always hits metal, at least, from that distance.
Same with this man. Oh, shoot.
Barely off there.
And he's going to be kicking himself for that one. Just looked like a 250-foot standstill shot. And just, as all of us do sometimes, left it a little bit short. And here's Brodie for birdie.
Great putt
There it is.
Good to see him get a birdie on the board there.
And that must feel good going into the back nine as well.
Yeah, getting your first birdie on this course is really just a sigh of relief.
It's a very liberating experience.
Yes, definitely.
There's a pretty stress-free par again from Andrew. And it looks like Philo's not quite feeling his release point either today. It looks like he's been a little bit off, and yeah, really taking it out on these baskets as we move into hole number 9. One of the more gettable par 3s we have here.
Yeah, it's a really tricky left to right moving shot. These branches on the left side come into play with the forehand, but as soon as you try to play the turnover, it's really hard to get the height and the distance right.
Yes.
So a lot of people are going to be playing some sort of left to right moving shot and trying to get some sort of skip up to the basket.
The really interesting part about this hole are these pines on the very right side of the green. They are complete jail. So if you saw off the hyzer even a tiny bit too much, this is a good looking line. Even a shot that lands 25 feet from the basket, if it's in the pines, it's a trick putt no matter what. So Very interesting placement of the basket here. And you can, again, tell Brodie is just, his release point feels a little bit off, and he's really trying to commit to whatever angle he's telling himself.
Needs to get up a little bit. Just outside the circle.
Yeah.
That's a great shot.
Similar to the putt he just made. And this is where Philo has to work a little bit harder than the other players, throwing the backhand turnover, but still a shot that he definitely specializes in. Oh, yeah. That's got to keep coming. Ah, faded out just a bit too much.
Yeah. Really put a lot on that one. But definitely if he got it turned, it would have been really good.
Exactly.
A little bit of a higher line from Andrew. And that's what happens when you take that little bit higher line. It brings those branches into play. Wow.
Yes!
That was a huge putt.
And we were just talking about how nice that first birdie feels out here. That is an awesome putt from Andrew. It felt like we were waiting for one of those to drop all round.
Yeah, he's been really close to hitting a lot of them. Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
He could not see the basket from there. Just throwing up a hyzer putt.
And Philo is 2 down through the front 9 after what seemed like a lot worse of a round. And let's watch that again. That was a potentially blind putt.
Wow, just dead center, right in the heart.
That's some serious visualization there from Philo. Not a bad way to end that front 9, huh?
Definitely.
Let's see if Brodie has another birdie up his sleeve.
Brodie.
A rough +5 on the front 9. Northwood's showing its teeth, and he feels it.
And Kev showing Northwood's his teeth, shooting 5 down on the front 9, which is absolutely insane.
He looks very focused right now. Very focused.
Bogey free as well. Thank you all for tuning into the front 9. Be sure to catch us on the back 9. We're excited to see some of the harder and longer holes on this course.
Yeah, and make sure to subscribe to Gatekeeper Media, and we will see you there.